Good evening and welcome to the Lighthouse of Pinellas' first and hopefully last virtual fundraiser. I am Johnny Bell, also known as Johnny B, on nighttime radio here in this market. I'm 102.5 The Bone. Now, I'm sure you all agree this has been a very strange year. I mean, who would have thought that in the year 2020, nothing at all would be in focus? I mean, like this camera on my entire body. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our wonderful sponsors of tonight's event. These are all the sponsorships we have received up to today's taping, and we apologize if anybody has been left off. Co-presenting sponsors, Pat Grubb and Michael and Joan Klein. Guiding light sponsors, Public Supermarkets Charities, Dex Imaging. Spotlight sponsors, Dr. Ron Tucker,
George and Kim Feaster, Serenity Funeral Home,
Raymond James Trust, and Judge Joseph and Miss Donahue. We thank our virtual table sponsors, Scott and Mary Burgess, Maria Cantonis, Richard Dimmitt, Word of Light Church, Chris Comstock, Betsy Schweitzer and Family, Creative Contractors, Charlie Rutz, Dr. Caesar Laura, the law firm of Michael Porter, Dr. Jonathan Mines and Bay Area Retina Consultants, Suzanne Piper, Bouchard Insurance and Co-Advantage, Dimmitt Chevrolet, Largo Lions Club. We also want to thank our friends of Lighthouse sponsor, Ann Burchanel. We also want to thank our hardworking board of directors, starting with our chair, Mike Porter, who you will see a bit later. Thank you, Ricky Bouchard, Scott Burgess, Chris Comstock, Judge Donahue, Lisa Hendrickson, David House, Donald Cantor, Joan Klein, Jessica Lillison, Donald Mandeville, Jamie Nielsen, Carolina Piamba, and Marietta Pasci. Again, thank you for your dedication to the Lighthouse of Pinellas. Tonight you will be treated with several heartwarming stories from the past and current clients, and you'll hear from our keynote speaker, Mr. Mike Moat. And now, to start us off, I am pleased to introduce our President and CEO, Kim Church.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for our first virtual Point of Light fundraiser. In many ways, 2020 has been a year unlike any other. COVID-19 has upended our life as we know it, and whether you're dealing with sickness, social distancing, working from home for the first time, or trying to homeschool kids, we have all been impacted in some way. Tonight, we'd like to provide for you a view inside the Lighthouse of Pinellas to hear about what we have accomplished over the past 18 months, as well as how our mission continues through this pandemic. First, though, I'd like to thank the Lighthouse staff for adapting to the changes in their work environment in order to continue to serve our clients during this time. I'm very proud of how the staff has come together as a team. Over the past 18 months, we have made tremendous advances within our workforce development programming. Prior to COVID-19, we developed, implemented, and launched a STEM program for our teens. And through several generous grants, we were able to purchase 4 3D printers and 3 robotic Lego Mindset kits, which have allowed us to provide greater opportunities for career exploration and job skills development. Since COVID-19, we've been challenged to take another technological leap forward by pushing us to transition to 100% virtual classroom instruction across all our programs. Our staff has worked tirelessly to transition to a remote work environment as they continue to provide services. We've been fortunate to receive funding from several Tampa Bay grantors for COVID-19 support to assist us with these unexpected technological challenges. With this transition to virtual instruction, we are only able to reach 70% of our clients across all programs. In this next fiscal year, we're working on how to make the necessary changes in order to reach all of our clients. And it is so imperative to be able to reach all those who need our services. The adults in our programs a lot of times come to us depressed and without hope because they feel isolated from the world. And currently, as many of us, they feel the world is unraveling. So it's important more than ever for us to be able to provide independent living and job skills training to the blind and visually impaired during this pandemic. These program changes come with unanticipated costs and a negative impact to our budget. And with your help, we can alleviate some of these costs in order to be able to provide services to 100% of our clients. And although we will not gather together as we normally do for the Point of Light Luncheon, I'm sure that you would agree that having a successful fundraiser event this year is even more important than ever. We appreciate your continued support and partnership in our efforts to serve the blind and visually impaired of Pinellas County. Thank you and be safe.
Thank you, Kim. Your leadership throughout this difficult year has been amazing. Now, please give a warm virtual welcome to Imogene Gerhard.
My name is Imogene Gerhard. I am a congenital double amputee, and now I am losing my eyesight, which is what brought me to Lighthouse. So when I was 5 months old, since I was born without my left arm below the elbow, my right leg above the knee, I was admitted to Shriners in Chicago. And at that time, I was the youngest patient ever to be admitted to Shriners. I was 5 months old. And I was there for first time a year and 5 months, and then I went back and didn't come home until I was 2. The story from my siblings is how they had the Christmas tree up till February and finally took it down, and then I came home in March. One of my checkups for Shriners, the doctor asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I didn't even get to answer the question. My mother just jumped in and said, "Oh, she wants to be a ballerina, like help me." And he was a very good doctor and said he thought dance lessons would be great. So I started when I was at 4 years old. I was in a class for a while, and then when they progressed beyond me, I took solo lessons and danced till I was 31. When I realized that I wasn't going to be a professional dancer, I turned to nursing, and I think it was probably because I was surrounded by a lot of medical personnel at Shriners. Went into administration. I've been a home care administrator. I was a manager of the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit at All Children's. So I had a really varied career. Over 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with pattern dystrophy of the epithelial pigmentosa, which is a retinal disorder. I realized I was having some difficulty with accommodation, going from a computer screen to paper and so on. When my eyesight continued to decline, I was referred to the Lighthouse by the retinal specialist. Some of the services that I received at Lighthouse included, well, first of all, support. Education, I had some computer training in Excel and some other programs, using the Zoom text, which was very helpful. And then networking with others with visual impairment, and vocational support in securing employment. Telescopic glasses. I will be receiving a new computer with Zoom text on it, a document reader, and other items that will certainly help me be a success in my new position. So most recently I have secured a position with Randstad. It's a staffing agency, and they're currently contracted with the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. They're doing contact tracing investigation, which is what my title will be, contact tracing investigator. Without the services and programs that Lighthouse provides, I would not have been able to secure my current position. I'd like to thank all the generous donors for enabling Lighthouse to provide all the services and programs to people like me.
Thank you, Imogene. What an inspiring story. What an awesome attitude. You're a perfect example of how nothing is impossible. I mean, I got asked to do this hosting job. Again, I'd like to thank our fantastic sponsors for tonight's virtual fundraiser. Co-presenting sponsors, Pat Grubb and Michael and Joan Klein. Guiding Light sponsors, Public Supermarkets Charities, Dex Imaging. Spotlight sponsors, Dr. Ron Tucker,
George and Kim Feaster, Serenity Funeral Home.
Raymond James Trust, and Judge Joseph and Miss Donahue. We thank our virtual table sponsors, Scott and Mary Burgess, Maria Cantonis, Richard Dimmitt, Word of Light Church, Chris Comstock, Betsy Schweitzer and family, Creative Contractors, Charlie Rutz, Dr. Caesar Laura, the law firm of Michael Porter, Dr. Jonathan Mines and Bay Area Retina Consultants, Suzanne Piper, Bouchard Insurance and Co-Advantage, Dimmitt Chevrolet, Largo Lions Club. We also want to thank our Friends of Lighthouse sponsor, Ann Burchanel. And now I'm happy to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Mike Moat.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks to the Pinellas County Lighthouse for allowing me to be part of this presentation. It's certainly a pleasure to talk to folks about IFB Solutions and have an opportunity to share my story. My name is Mike Moat. I've been blind since birth, and I currently work at IFB Solutions in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We are the largest employer of blind and visually impaired employees in the country. We serve the needs of some 1,000 employees currently in our 3 locations, the main of which is here in Winston-Salem, which is where I am now. My story really begins through my childhood when I was blind and I was going through school, and my parents made a decision that would impact me for the rest of my life. They chose to put me in a mainstream school with students who could see. Their reason was I needed to learn how to live in the world that I was going to be expected to perform in when I was grown. Among the things that they asked me to do during my time in school was to learn how to be a mobility expert. In other words, travel with a cane and get around from place to place rather than do PE. And at the time, I absolutely hated it. But now I use those skills every day. So as a child, I learned the skills and adapted some of the skills, was able to perform the skills that I use now as an employee here at IFB. I learned Braille, which I use every day. I learned how to travel, which I use that skill every day. And I learned how to interact with folks who could see, which was very important to me. Throughout my childhood and into my teenage years, I wanted to be in the broadcasting business, and I got the opportunity to do that straight out of college. I worked in radio for 15 years, holding a lot of different positions. I hosted my own talk show. I was a program director, an operations manager. I got to go to a lot of sporting events and cover them for the local radio station that I worked at. In 2008, the housing market took a plunge and the economy went south very quickly, and radio was impacted first. As a result, I was laid off. So I went to training to become an Office certified specialist, understanding the Microsoft Excel, Outlook, Word, etc. And then I went into telemarketing because that was the job that was there. I did that position for about 2 years and was laid off and was looking for a job just 8 years ago in 2012. I actually applied for a position as a customer service representative at a company called Winston-Salem Industries for the Blind. I was eventually hired, and thus began the journey that I'm currently on. I've been here for 8 years. I am currently serving the role of Manager of Workforce Services and Accessibility and Workforce Development. I have both titles now. This journey has given me the ability to help those who are just like me. And to me, that is what is so special about organizations like mine and yours, is that we have a mission to help those who are blind. Let me also say that it's our responsibility as blind individuals to help ourselves. We have to be in the right mindset, and you have to be in the right place in life to take advantage of opportunities that are afforded to you. And my challenge to everybody that's listening and watching this is that we have a job to do. If you ever think that what you're doing is not making a difference, then you should go to the plant, you should go to these places and talk to the people who are actually working in the field and doing the work, that are not in the management positions. And you'll find out real quick why we do what we do. And finally, I would just challenge those of you who own businesses, those of you who have the opportunity to hire blind folks, I ask that you give them the opportunity to be successful. And I wish all of you the best in your continued effort to support blind and low vision and the mission of blind people in general, because it's important and it's something that these folks are counting on us to do. It's a huge responsibility, but the rewards are even greater. Thank you for letting me speak, and continued success.
Thanks, Mike. And as a fellow radio personality, I know you know what pain is. And now you will meet a terrific young man who has been a client of Lighthouse of Pinellas for his entire life, Jack Morrison.
I am Jack Morrison, and I am a graduate of the Teen Transition Program. I was born with an eye condition called blue cone monochromatism at a very early age, and I discovered Lighthouse while trying to find glasses when I was about 3 weeks old. So Lighthouse definitely helped us through finding a doctor that specialized in making glasses for someone, that small and that young. I was then in the blind baby program, and then I moved up through transitions, which I have currently graduated from, as well as graduated from high school. I plan to go into stage production through Pinellas Technical College when that opens back up again. Here at Lighthouse, we have begun a program and a business called Blindsided Braille Creations. This is a project that I am very happy to be a part of as its director of sales. Blindsided Creations is a business that produces a multitude of Braille products. So far, we only have one product that is for sale, and that is a leather bracelet with a Braille metal message on it. That is usually a single word from 3 to 7 letters long, but we are planning to extend it to other things, such as notebook covers, pencil cases, glasses cases, all sorts of things. Anything that you need that it also has Braille on it, so it's a good way to support both the program and raise awareness for the visually impaired. This past summer, we've begun a robotics and 3D printing program. Using 3D printing, we can create prototypes and hopefully some products. For the non-visually impaired, it helps raise awareness and raise money for these programs. As a final thank you to all of our supporters and our donors, your support helps so many people in this community, and it helps brighten the lives of so many visually impaired children, adults, people who, without your support, their lives would be so much more difficult. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack. Look, they could have used some of your stage production skills to fit all of me inside this camera. It took forever. Our next speaker is a gentleman you may have heard before at one of our functions. Judge Donahay's story is so compelling, we brought him back for an encore.
Welcome once again to Lighthouse of Pinellas function. My name is Joseph G. Donahay, Jr. I'm a circuit judge, retired circuit judge, for the 6th Judicial Circuit of Florida, which is Pinellas and Pasco counties. Let me explain to you that had you asked me on January the 10th, 1999, whether there were any blind people in Pinellas County, I would have said, with a shrug of the shoulders, I really don't know. I suppose there are. And had you asked me if there was any place for a blind person to go for assistance, I would not have known how to answer you. On January the 11th, the next day, that changed dramatically. I went into a local hospital for back surgery. I was fully sighted at 7:25 in the morning. When I came out of surgery, out from under the anesthetic, at about 6:30 that night, I was totally blind. What do you do when suddenly you can't see? I had no idea. I was at home, finally from the hospital. I was in a bed, not knowing what to do with myself. I was trying to find ways of getting out of bed and getting some exercise, and just muddled up thinking in my mind until my wife came to me one day and said, you need to get up and get dressed. That lady's going to be here in about a half an hour. Long and the short of it is, it was a lady from the State of Florida Division of Blind Services. We went through, well, I sat and listened to her tell me what all the wonderful things were going to be done for me. It ended up with an appointment or with an assignment or a suggestion that we go to Lighthouse of Pinellas for the blind and visually impaired. I started ultimately to learn how to navigate with the lack of sight. I had already been introduced to the cane, so I was walking a little bit with it, but very little. I had not learned very much. The next thing I knew, I was taking a course in Braille. I was taken in and I sat down at a computer. There were 6 of us, as I recall, in a computer class. Of course, I couldn't see any of them, and I couldn't see the instructor, and I had never operated a computer. Now, all of a sudden, I was sitting in a class at Lighthouse with an instructor that was telling me that he was going to teach me how to operate a computer. I thought to myself, good luck. But the long and the short of it is, it was excellent teaching and training. Again, that was on January the 11th, 1999, and I think it was on October 10th, I believe, that I went back to work on the bench as a full-time circuit judge. I remained on the bench until, I think it was 2002. We have a mandatory retirement age in Florida. At that time, for circuit judges, it was age 70. It's now 75. I have utilized the time since then to try and encourage the training of people who are lacking vision. Now, I had the wonderful advantage of having vision for almost 65 years, just 4 months short of that. So when you talk to me about things that were there to be seen and to be appreciated, when you talk to me about colors, when you talk to me about sunrise, when you talk to me about sunset, when you talk to me about flowers and roses. On the day I lost my sight, I had 27 rose bushes outside my house that I pampered almost daily. But when you talked about those things, when Lighthouse talked about them, when the instructors, talked about them, I knew what they were talking about because I had seen them and I had experienced them. And I always thought to myself, what a great advantage I had over those people who never had sight, those young people who were born blind, those people who have never experienced any of those things. What a challenge that is for the instructors and the teachers and the trainers at Lighthouse. But that's what they deal with on a daily basis. And as you have already heard, there is so much, so many things that the blind can do if properly educated and properly prepared. And it is Lighthouse that provides that training and makes them so available to the working market, who puts them out there to be employed and to be constructive and to enjoy life. And that's what I've done, and I continue to do that. I've been on the board of directors at Lighthouse of Pinellas. I continue to participate. I want you to know, and I'm sure you understand, the additional challenges that come about with the virus that we're now experiencing, with all of the changes in our communication, the mask wearing, the washing of hands, etc., the spacing. There's so many challenges that our instructors and teachers and trainers at Lighthouse now have to deal with. It makes their task far more different and far more difficult. And I encourage you to continue to support Lighthouse of Pinellas.
Thank you, Judge. What an inspiration. Your story tells us that if someone says you can't do something, you just have to prove to them that you can. Man, did you ever. And now we will hear from the chair of Lighthouse of Pinellas, Mike Porter.
My name is Michael W. Porter, and I'm an attorney from St. Petersburg, Florida. As you're all more than aware, 2020 has been an unprecedented year, representative of the struggle for survival for many. Unemployment is continuing to climb. Legacy companies are going bankrupt. Small businesses are closing at record pace. And sadly, lives continue to be lost throughout the world due to COVID-19. Throughout this time, the Lighthouse of Pinellas has continued to fight through these conditions and continues to serve Pinellas County residents who are blind or visually impaired. We cannot continue this mission, however, without your support. Lighthouse of Pinellas leadership and staff are working diligently to continue to develop additional visual programming and provide options to clients, especially those in high-risk populations, such as our blind babies and our older blind clients. In addition, a major challenge to consider is that the future cannot be predicted regarding state and federal funding, which may not be available in the coming years due to the long-term impacts of COVID-19 on our economy. Historically, lighthouses were built to stand tall against the harshest and most powerful storms. However, like any building, without a solid foundation and continuous support, even the strongest lighthouse can fall. With your generous donation, you can ensure that the Lighthouse of Pinellas remains a steadfast point of light for generations to come. Thank you for attending this event. We appreciate your support. We wish you well during these tumultuous times.
Thanks, Mike. Wow, what an incredible night. Totally worth it. Never been this long without eating. I'm good. Now, we have two beautiful raffle items we have to give away. All of you who pre-registered for tonight's event are all entered to win. We thank Chris Scott of Bel Air Market for providing this beauty. I mean, if only we had like a virtual basket to draw from. Oh, thank you, virtual assistant. And your winner, congratulations, it's Nyla Gregory. Now we will draw for this awesome basket. Provided by Carolina Piamba and Piamba Home Team. And the lucky winner is, thank you, virtual assistant. Congratulations, Patricia Dalton. We at the Lighthouse of Pinellas sincerely thank all of you who watched this Point of Light virtual fundraiser, and we thank all of you who donated to this event. We truly can't do what we do without you. Again, I'm Johnny B. of 102.5 The Bone, and I'll sign off by again thanking our co-presenting sponsors, Pat Grubb and Joan and Michael Klein, and all of our terrific sponsors. Good night.